Now, speaking of nuts, I'm going to jump around a little bit tonight because I'm not going to. I'm going to do. I'll do an hour if that's okay with you guys, but I'm going to try and bum rush some of this stuff. I talked about this earlier today on the morning show when we were talking to Phil and the Major about this real ID thing on the right. One of the things that the excuse me that Republicans have not um, really grasped is that Democrats are, after a while of trying to fight voter ID because people could be disenfranchised and have their ID removed, and it's a poll tax. This is the issue. This is always the issue I will have. If you're going to make IDs necessary to vote, you got to give it to me for free because you can't charge me for it at all. Not postage, not anything. Like I can stand there as part of it, but I'll stand in line and hand in my forms, but you cannot charge me a fee to get an ID that I need for my rights. Understand? It's kind of like they can't charge you for your Social Security card, right? Okay. So that's the only issue I have. And for the longest time, the reason they did that was because they could disenfranchise a certain number of people. And then in the South, a lot, it used to be that they could, if you're going to court, if they pulled you over and they used it like as a traffic bond, they would take your ID and you'll get it back when you have court. And magically in the South, they would start pulling over black people in late October. And court wouldn't be till the first week of December. Yeah. So that's a huge issue. Okay. Now, the rules have changed largely. You can now get a state ID and a driver's license and have both, and they both work. Wisconsin's law, which the right was touting, allows student IDs, which is what the hang-up was. Like before, you could use a fucking gun club ID, but if you went to University of Madison in Wisconsin, you couldn't use your ID from there, which shows where you live, the fact that you're a real student, all the information that school has that proves you're a student. It's official because they don't want people posing as students on campus, so it has actual security built into the ID. They wouldn't allow you to use that. You could use some fucking gun club, right? But you couldn't use that one. The Wisconsin law allowed for that, and it passed. Okay, so Real ID. First of all, let me say I'm for it. Real ID just has more countermeasures, so it's harder to fake, and it works with your picture is also a LiDAR scan of your face, and so it can tell who you are. It's fine. Okay. So let me show you what these guys are doing. Now, can I just say I had a weird moment. Eric Bolling was on Peanut Butter Dickhead, and I don't know if he's just had this wake up call because he used to work in the oil markets. He was on Wall Street for 15 years. And before he went to work for Newsmax or whatever and became, started injecting marzipan into his face. I will also say he seems to have backed off that a little. There were a few times when he was looking rather puffy in very specific areas, very like he went to her esthetician, right? And he's seemingly dialed that back. Maybe it was the first round and then it's had a chance to soften. Not quite sure how it works, but maybe that's what happens. Your face settles after you've had a big of marzipan and then it whatever. Anyways, doesn't quite look as weirdly bloated. Maybe he's just stopped drinking. Anyways, he's on this show and they start talking about he's against the tariff stuff. He's a free market guy. So he just hates the idea. So there's a back and forth between them on this. But this is about federal tracking system. Kristi Noem Real ID plan sparks. See how this is, wonder how that showed up in my feed. Sparks debate over government control. No, it doesn't. It triggers two of his co-hosts who are paranoid assholes.
This one's kind of interesting, and I wonder what you guys will say about this, both of you.
Great. I love a clip that's kind of interesting, Peanut Butter Dickhead.
Urges people to get real IDs to keep our country safe. This is a Breitbart story. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, Kristi Noem encouraged Americans to get real IDs, stating in a video on X, which here's the clip, Rob, if you want to play the clip first and then.
Play the clip there, Rob. By the way, I would like to remind everybody, this clip is not for you and me. I don't need Kristi Noem to tell me to get an updated ID. It's 2025. Of course, our IDs will have to be more resilient to and checkable by myriad of different ways to protect both you and where you're going to, so that it's really you. And just go back and watch the Ted Bundy story about how he fled to Florida before your picture was on your driver's license. And you can understand how we have to update these fucking things because the worst among us will find ways to take advantage. Here we go.
Get into the rest of it.
Hi, I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security.
God help us.
If you plan on traveling, we need your help to prevent delays and to prove your identity. Get a real ID.
I got to tell you. So, Dems don't have a problem getting a real ID. We're fine. The government's not going to track it. It's just bullshit. And if anything, it's like, I'm a citizen. Leave me the fuck alone. Right? That's what Trump's camp is worried about. But their biggest concern, quite frankly, is the fact that maggots specifically are paranoid as fuck and think the government has chips in everything. And so they're not getting the real ID. Well, if you need that to vote at some point and you just won't get one, what happens? What happens? That's right. You don't get to vote. That's why she's doing this video.
Starting May 7th, you will need a real ID to travel by air or to visit federal buildings in the United States.
But it's the people's house. Of course, I guess you can always go if you're just a maggot waving the Confederate flag and you're fine curb stomping a police officer, right, Kristi?
These IDs keep our country safe because they help prevent fraud and they enhance security. Please do your part to protect our country. Go today and don't delay.
Yeah, I love that. And also, this piece of music we're playing behind us is God Bless a Good Portion of America. It was written by Lee Greenwood in a dream, I believe.
Learn more, go to dhs.gov/real-ID. Thank you.
Chris, what do we...
And also, I love this little flying bird graphic that they threw in there. The more you know.
About these real IDs so far?
I don't know what there is to know that makes them suspicious. I have one.
Eric.
Same. It's a great idea. This is obviously the precursor to requiring an ID to vote, which is great.
Tom.
I agree. We've had real ID standards since Texas.
Standards. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. You've had the same kind of thing California has, which is like the fucking like glimmery, shimmery decal over the whole thing, which has the state's emblem in it so that they can check to see if it's real. But you have not had real ID stuff that's in the actual card itself and in the tag. There's details in it, but this is another step forward. It has been shy of that, or you wouldn't need to update it in Texas.
I have one with the star in Texas. And when I came down here, I noticed my new driver's license here had the star, and I think it's a good thing. And by the way, I'll add something. When I went from California to Texas, I surrendered my California driver's license. They say, I'm sorry, that's not an acceptable form of ID. Why? Because it's been compromised because you can get it as a general ID, and so we need a birth certificate or something. So I actually went and got my Social Security card, tattered it was, in this plastic envelope. I came back, is this good enough?
Yeah.
And this in my passport? Yes. But it was so funny that you couldn't get a driver's license in
Well, you need two forms of ID. So he had a passport and his old driver's license. And Texas didn't accept it because they were being assholes. That's just ridiculous. It's just stupid. I call bullshit.
Texas in 2015.
2015. Okay. Yeah.
Trading in a California license because they said, that's not good.
So it's funny. Yesterday we're in a meeting and one of our guys like, man, let me tell you, this real ID stuff's a big concern. You got to be careful.
One of our guys, what do you mean, most of your guys?
That they're doing this. He's kind of giving his own feel. And then Danny's like, do you have a Florida ID? Yeah. He says, you know, if you have a Florida ID, it's a real ID. He says, really? Yeah, take out your ID. says, yeah, that star is real. It's, oh, cool, I got a real ID. It was the funniest moment for
It's so funny. The guy's like so full of shit.
him because at first it was like,
Big
hey,
brother.
yeah, exactly.
Skepticism is
Where
the
are you
lowest
at with
form of
this?
intelligence.
And that's because
Okay, so this is he's like, where are you at with this? Because he knows this is him programming his dudes. This guy is I don't know his name. I don't care. But he's the one who kind of is like, why won't they release the Epstein files? And you're like, gee, I can't imagine why when Trump's in charge, the guy gets arrested, dies in jail, and all the stuff that's discovered during the raid that happens while Trump's in charge just fucking vanishes. And then they won't release the files while Trump's president again. I can't. What's the common denominator? I have no fucking idea, right? Okay. So this is that asshole.
that's us because we have it because, you know, they updated the system. But I think forcing everybody to do it, it isn't about security or stopping fraud. It's about control. The last time we saw it was with the Patriot Act, where they were locking down on everybody, and they're wrapping it in this polite language of we want to help you fly, but they're building a federal tracking system. That's what it comes down to, and they're making people do it. You can't go into if you don't get it, Chris, you can't go into a VA. You can't do any federal building,
Right. Because they have a machine that can verify it, and you can fake it with the old ones. So they just want one that's verifiable, which also doesn't track you. If you're in the building and you've shown ID, somebody knows you're there. That's kind of the fucking point. Also, can I point out to this asshole that when you go into the airport even, or you go into a federal building, you have to show your ID when you go in, and you may even have to scan it, or they'll look at it, or they might copy it, but you don't have to show it when you leave. So as far as this tracking system, you know, that they would have, if you looked at the computer that ran it, it would look like everyone is just swallowed up by federal buildings and airports. People just walk into them and fucking vanish. They don't know if you got on your plane or not and left. What if you went out an exit door? Like, they don't even check. The fuck are you talking about? Even the thing about going into a federal building, they'd have to check your ID when you come in and when you go out, you dumb motherfucker. All they know is where you went. And then you just fucking poof. Where are you? Anybody? How do you track people with only one side of the equation, dummy? I don't get it. And again, if it has a chip in it, and it's right, why don't you think they had a chip in the other one? And you think all the states are taking part in this? So Texas is using Real ID. It has the little star in it. So Texas is all in on the federal government tracking you everywhere and corralling you and forcing everyone to do it. So the red states, blue states, it doesn't fucking matter. Deep state all the way. I swear to fucking God. Like there is no there. Like they don't mile wide and an inch deep. Everything about these fuckers, like they can't even contemplate where that, like, not even ad infinitum or ad absurdum, but just ad normum, like where it goes normally. Okay, if this is true, asshole, then this would have to be true too, followed by this true thing and this true thing. And if none of these are happening, then maybe this is bullshit too, you fucking putz. God damn. I swear to God.
federal court system, anything, you can't go into the building. And I think it's an excuse. Well, what I'm saying is they're forcing people to do it because they want to track everybody in this sense.
So wait, so you need to have an ID to vote, but you don't think the government has the right to know who's in the country?
No, they know who's in the country, but a real ID, this is overstepping a little bit more because of all the stuff that you know what it entails to get.
Yeah, I actually have the form on my phone right now because I went for the enhanced one. It's all regular bullshit information, Vinny. There's nothing discreet in there.
I just think, you know,
Vinny, I just think you go into the DMV and they go, oh, God damn it. What's this? What is in my neck? Real ID? You've been Real ID'd? Fuck me. Look at him. And look at him fucking wilt.
Form on my phone.
There's nothing different of it. So a regular ID? What's the upgrade to the real ID?
You got to show where you live. You got to show a tax thing, a W-2, and your car registration.
So what's the difference between just your regular identification? They have to know where you live. They have to know, you know what I mean? All your social everything.
You submit a couple of more things.
By the way, he's talking about the enhanced one. They're talking at cross purposes right here. I would like to say the real ID thing doesn't require all these extra things. He's getting the enhanced real ID because it operates sort of like a passport. That eventually the idea is you won't need a fucking stamp book. You know, you can carry visas or have digital visas. That was the other thing that everybody's working toward worldwide. That's why these guys are against digital ID. That's just where you would have your fucking visa on your phone, because somebody can steal your fucking passport and tear the fucking page out and stick it in their fucking passport. And when the guy opens it up, they're like, oh, there's my visa. Yeah, my buddy tore my book, but it's there or whatever. And in a bunch of countries all over the world, they don't give it a second fucking glance. And so off you go. But if you got to open your phone with your fucking face and you're like, see, and it can scan or use a thumbprint or something that is genuinely you, it's obviously more secure.
Prove who you are. I mean, I think you got a little boogeyman.
Anytime that they're trying to say, like, listen, this is we want this.
Let me ask this question though.
Anytime the government's like, we want this, like, you know, where they like make murder like illegal everywhere. What the fuck? I mean, this is the government totally overstepping. Like, why is it all of it's? What if you really don't like the person? That's my concern.
We had a podcast somewhere about a year ago. Rob, I don't know if you remember this. With this lady, her name is Candace, I believe. And this other guy, what's his name? Chris.
Yeah.
Do you remember there was like this moment on this podcast where there was a conversation about IDs.
Yeah.
About voter ID.
Do you remember this? I'm trying to remember this podcast.
I do. I remember fine. Look, I get the policy arguments against wanting voter ID. I get it.
Let me tell you this.
I get it.
Here's where I'm going. Here's where I'm going. Rob, if you want to, do you have it? Just press the clip. See if it gets to it or not. But I just hope we don't get a flag for playing a clip from another channel. Is that it, Rob? Is that the part?
That's where it peaks. Yeah.
Let's see it. Let's see if
I was 16 years old because I wanted to drive and pick up my boyfriend.
I get it. And
those are the reasons people get IDs. That's simple. I love you too.
I get it. What I'm saying is,
okay,
two things can be.
I don't know when we're going to. It's a 30-minute clip if you guys want to.
I love how they show what she says, which is, I needed a driver's license because I wanted to pick up my boyfriend and go on a date. And he's talking about how, like, I get what you're saying, and then they just cut him off. Can I just say for the record, having a relationship is an optional right in this country. You're allowed to do it, but you're not required to have an ID to be in a relationship. You're not required to have an ID to go across town or meet somebody. You have to have a license to operate a motor vehicle, because we want to know you have the skill to do it. And it's got to be your license. When they pull you over, they goes, is this really you? Because you could say, yeah, I'm Sam, and who gives a shit? How are they supposed to know? Back in the day when you didn't, and you had a paper one and it didn't have your photo on it, they were like, this is your driver's license? Sure it is. And since she's been alive, there's been pictures on driver's license. In my entire life, they've been there. But for a long time, they weren't. Okay. And as they grow, them, so like, and make them more, so the kids can't just take their brother or sisters once they expire and like use a heat gun to open up the plastic and change the 7 to a 9 and then close it back up and then, like drive over it a couple of times so they can't really tell that that you drew that there. It just looks a little bit fucked up and they let you in the bar. That's very different than I have the right to vote. I want to vote. I am a citizen and I was born here. I have to show that to somebody and it has to be verifiable. And if I don't have access to that ID by no fault of my own, you are denying me my right to vote. That's different than whether or not you have the right to operate a motor vehicle or you have the, or you can't just, you're allowed to be in a relationship, go fucking walk. Take the bus like Greg Kelly.
I
So
get
here's my
the
question,
arguments that they make against voter ID. That the people who won't have one, who wind up not voting, are
Like that asshole sitting next to PBD.
the same people Republicans don't want to vote.
But this is about
That's the
Vinny
political
and you.
argument.
This is about, so it's funny because this kind of gets a conservative to be against it and gets a liberal to be for the ID.
Yeah, I'm not
just,
a
Just hear
liberal.
me out for a second. Hear me a second. He said what? It was a what was the word they used? It was a reasonable leftist, or what was a tolerable leftist? Some word like
Common
that.
sense
Yeah.
leftist?
But anyways, that's today. It's a free agent. It's a different
both
story.
chooches.
But check this out. Check this out. What if, Chris,
Yes.
they take the next step with these IDs?
What's the next step?
The next step is that 100% of people in America need an ID to vote.
They are. The issue is, should it cost you any money to get one?
Yeah, you're going to have a big political fight. The left is going to say that you're disenfranchised. And now they may have allies with Vinny.
By the way,
They will.
that's the point. You understand what just happened?
yeah.
This was so funny what just happened right now because
It's so funny. Like, this is like the best episode ever. I can't believe it. It's unbelievable. The whole thing. God, it's so fucking lazy and stupid. Now, real quick, I'm going to jump around a little bit tonight. Hit the like, by the way, share the show, etc., etc., etc. If you're on Substack and you haven't subscribed, please do. If you're on Substack and you have subscribed, restack the show. Sure. And if you're on Instagram, I would prefer if you put like an annoyed emoji, maybe an angry face. I'm not above middle fingers. That's up to you. I don't want to get you bounced. I don't have any bots on it. So something, because obviously Meta is entirely powered by negative emotions. It kind of like Meta is like the spaceship, the fastest spaceship in the universe besides the Heart of Gold in the Hitchhiker of the Galaxy, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books. The only ship faster than the Heart of Gold, which used the infinite improbability drive, was one that was powered by bad news because nothing travels faster. The only problem was nobody wanted to be there when it arrived. I just fucking love that. And apparently that's the engine they use to power Facebook and Instagram and Meta and Threads. If we could harness bad news, we could beat the speed of light. Right.